So I've been playing some Baltaro, you know, and I've been trying to get past this purple stake for fucking ages. So I was just recording, grinding, trying to get by it, and this mad run came up, which you probably can tell by the title. But I've turned 8 ball into a legitimate purple stake beating strategy. This is probably one of my luckiest runs, but unluckiest yet luckiest run ever. Like, I didn't really get any scaling options, but I just got the right stuff at the right time, and like, just stick to the end, because Jesus Christ, I have never had a deck this consistent ever. Because the main issue I always have with decks, well, in any game you play, is inconsistency. So you don't want your deck to be inconsistent more than anything. You want to thin it down as much as possible. Or if you're making flushes, like I usually do, you want to have as many as possible of that suit that you've decided to pick, right? And this game was ridiculous. As you can see, I started off with the Magic deck because it's probably my favourite deck that I've gone through, because I'm a flush man. It's, I'm not proud to say it, it's just the easiest suit to make, and yeah, I'm a flush man. If I need to flush, I'll flush, right? So, go Magic deck, you find a moon, a star, a world, a sun, then you copy it 3 times, and that's converting 9 of another suit into one specific suit, and it makes it obviously a lot more consistent, right? Now, this run was nuts because it didn't have any of that. It had an 8 ball and a fucking dream, right? It started off with the immolation that you saw earlier. And that immolation took out 5 cards to give me $20 dunks, and those $20 dunks really helped doing the build. I wouldn't be able to win the early game if it wasn't for that. And probably my favourite card, right, that I've ever played and used is the Balliot. That one, that's not actually what it's called, but top right of the screen in the last Joker slot currently on screen. That card, it re-triggers the first play card twice, right? And that is probably the most useful Joker when you're in a tough bind ever. For example, play a glass card, right? Glass card triggers twice. 2 times, sorry. Glass card triggers 2 times molt. Then it triggers again and again. That's 6 times molt in one card. And it's not the best, don't get me wrong. You can definitely find better cards. But it just works when you don't have anything else. And boy, did this run make it shine. In fact, it made the 8 trigger 2 more times, which give me more tarot cards. And I can confidently say this run would not have been possible if it wasn't for the 8-ball and the Balliot. Because that combo itself got me a ridiculous amount of tarot cards, which also led to me being able to consistently make the deck into 8s, which was the target, and thin the rest of it down. Like, to be fair, my tarot card luck in this game was fucking nuts. I got a hangman all the time, and that let me thin out the deck very, very well. I think by the end of it, I had 27 cards or 23 cards left, which was nuts. Bear in mind, I won this with just minimal use of glass cards. I didn't decide to go on endless either, because I was too gassed about winning. Because I fucking finally beat that blasted purple stake. Fuck that purple stake. And it came in the best place. And as you can see on screen now, that immolation came, destroyed 5 cards when there was no 8s. And this is 3 times speed, pretty much. But that took me a lot longer a decision to make, because I was scanning for every single card, making sure there was no 8s, and then double checking and triple checking. I got a criminal amount of deaths this run as well, as in the tarot card not losing, and that significantly helped the 8s. I think in total probably got about 7 to 8 deaths, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that, you got to remember, that's adding 7 8s and removing 7 other cards, and I must have got at least 8 hangmans, which is 16 cards removed from your deck, plus the immolations, which was, I got 2 of them, which is 10 in total, and it was crazy. The eco play I had, the second I picked up that, I think Mail and Rebate is called, the one where you discard cards and you get money for discarding like the rank it says, like 8. The first time I picked it up, it was 8, and I just discarded 8s for sheer cash. I think it was like 3 8s, which is 15, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're struggling for money and the small blind in purple stake doesn't give you any money, you need it. And that let me search for better jokers. Like, as you can see now, the scaling wasn't the best. I didn't have much options. I literally was surviving on the pirate joker and Balliot, and that was literally it. And the ridiculousness of flush 5. I also think this run did very, very well because of one of those tags where you can skip the what they call the blinds, and it said upgrade flush 5 by 3 levels, and that genuinely had such a massive impact. Like here, I did some stupid play because I wasn't quite sure at the time that 8s had a full play, like a full thing, so I kind of bought that hand card for a play that didn't actually ever come to fruition. And at some point, I just kind of forgot about the card that was there, thought it was doing something, realised it wasn't, and I just needed to get rid of it, like, ASAP. That, I don't know what it's called, but that, like, People Purple, I called it, because it's like hollow purple, but people, blue and red. And that, like, 3 times on the final played hand was, again, pretty much the reason that I managed to keep this alive. I wasn't getting past this 9,000 mark without like significant glass cards and good luck if it wasn't for that card. And then it just kept going, and I basically got drip fed like the good cards, and currently I can't consistently get out the flush 5, which is unfortunate, right? Because flush 5s are very, very good, but I just had enough to keep scavenging by, and that is really what it's about when you're trying to beat the stakes. It's not some flashy build that manages to get you like super far and endless, right? It's just this deck that somehow works, and it's definitely my best run. My best run, I got like 43 billion. It was a lot of re-triggers and glass cards. I think Balliot was actually involved in that one as well, and legendary as well. I think it's called the Jonker. No, not a Jonker. That guy that the guy that gains like 0.5 molt or 1 times molt every time you discard 24 cards. I bought as many like extra discard things as I could and scaled that to oblivion while also having the glass cards and re-triggers. That was like my main thing, really. That was definitely my best run that I've had. I almost beat, I think, Anti-12, if I remember rightly. But this is probably my favourite out of the ones, or at least one of my favourites. Like here, I sold the wrestler dude to try and make this easier to get through. I don't think I would have had an issue, but it was just better safe than sorry. And plus, I was testing out if it actually could affect the base. Like, I knew it could affect the Joker's abilities, but I didn't quite understand. I didn't know if that extra money counted as an ability, because it said extra large blind. Also, like the Empress and the Hierophant, they really, really helped pretty much everything. And here we go, the trio, right? The trio, this is where the deck actually took off. The trio was the GOAT. Unfortunately, I got the Telescope. It didn't quite come in well because Flush 5, I would play a lot of 8s to mid-max as many tarot cards I could possibly get using the Balliot and the 8-ball in unison, right? But I'd only play 1 8, so I didn't waste everything, and I know I couldn't win the thing, so I could mid-max as many 8s as possible, like you're seeing on screen now. But that also skyrocketed the amount of use that the pair had. So the pair pretty much was most used card, and I couldn't use Telescope properly. But yeah, this deck wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for 8-ball. I can confidently say that. Not like on a psychological standpoint as well as an actual standpoint. I never would have focused around 8 so heavily if 8-ball wasn't a thing. And 8-ball itself made it easier to build 8s and enhance the 8s from the sheer amount of tarot cards I was getting. Like, most of the times I was playing around like 3-4 8s in one hand, like for the earlier antis. And then when Balliot came in, I was probably playing about like 5 to 6. And then if I got a flush 5, I was playing equivalent of 7 8s. And a 1 in 4, 7 times. You're going to get at least 1 or 2 tarot cards out of that, right? So, let you know that is more. I played more than that. I must have played like at least 2 8s outside of the final hand, which is equivalent to, each one's equivalent to 3 8s. Yeah, each one's equivalent to 3 8s. So that's 6. That's 13. Yeah, that's 13 8s. The likelihood of running a 1 in 4 13 times and not getting it go off twice is extremely unlucky. And that was what I banked on for this run. Also, the luck card that gives you the money, that actually kept my wallets big and nice and chunky. The serpent in this run actually helped me significantly, like the boss blind you're seeing now. None of these were an issue because I knew that, like, without trying too hard, I could get 300,000, malt, value chips. Then I just saw the card, like, what's his name, the poker guy, where like if your hand has been played before, it's 3 times. Hand has been played for this like blind, the malt is increased by 3 times. I realised that probably wouldn't work very well because running a flush 5 in a deck of 28 cards, where about 5 or so of them, maybe 6, are not in fact 8s, and a couple of them are not 8s that I could actually work with. I mean, maybe about 10 of them, I would say. Maybe 10 to 15 were not 8s. But a lot of them weren't even like 1 suit. Which, that was quite scary. Like, if I got that, I actually would have probably lost because I would have had to sell... I can't sell even Steven because he's Eternal. I can't sell the trio. And I can't sell that, like, final hand is 3 times. So it was either between the Balliet and the 8-ball. I didn't quite want to get rid of the 8-ball yet because I still think it had... I was actually certain it still had more potential. And as you can see here, the bonus chips, they slowly get whittled out of the deck by the increased malt thing. When I realised that I no longer need chips because it got to a point where my malt was significantly higher than the chips I was getting. Or at least in my mind it was, because probably not in reality because I'm a human, right? I make mistakes. So like, pretty much in reality, it could have been completely different, but in my head it felt like my chips weren't as high as my malt because I was getting at least 40 to 60 malt and then timesing it by 3, then timesing it by 3, and if I had a steel, then timesing it by 1.25, and if I had a glass, timesing it by 2. That just felt, to me, oh shit, yeah, I had 4 cards not of that suit, not of hearts. Yeah, this deck was crazy, man. As you can see, I tried to refrain from using glass cards as much as possible. Bit myself in the arse here by trying to min-max the 8s and had to play glass. Luckily, it didn't break. That is the highest chip value of this run. Because, again, I was really apprehensive to use the glass. Because I don't want to break the glass. Because the glass is the only reason... So I'm a backup plan, right? If I'm breaking the glass on the run on the blinds that I know I can easily beat, then if I actually need the glass to come in, I'm pretty much fucked on the higher blinds. And even with Purple Stake, the highest... chip value is 400,000, right? On the on anti-8, the boss, unless it's an extra large blind, which I think it times it by 3 if I remember correctly. So it would be like 1.2 million, which I could do, but I would have to use at least 2 glasses or a glass and put it in front and have that as what's it called? And have that trigger 3 times. The only problem I've got with that is it would have to go off before all the other extra malt amplifiers, which also means that I'll be timesing the malt by 2. I'll probably be timesing the flat value, which I think is around 50 malt when you do a flush 5, the flush 5 that I've got, around 60. So we times it by 2, which is 120. Times it by 2, which would be 240, and times it by 2, which would be 480, right? Which isn't actually as much value as just playing like the equivalent of 7 cards that add 4 malt. Well, it is, but at least playing 4 cards, the equivalent of 6 cards because of Balliet. I know that's not the actual name of the Joker. I can't remember it. I'm just reading what it says at the fucking top. My bad. But while playing like the other malt cards beforehand, and then timesing it by 2 at the end with the Jokers, like 2 Jokers, timesing it by 2 at the end by the glass cards. Now, if the glass cards went off after a lot of the Jokers went off, which sometimes they do, right? if it's an even Steven, for example, if it's a joker that says when scored, it activates when scored, not at the end after it's already scored, right? So even Steven goes off, each 8 adds 4 mult, which then the glass card can use itself, which is like an excellent play. And yeah, this is I got DNA. I was like, oh, DNA, and I kind of just kept using it on the glass cards to see if I could get an extra glass card. I forgot that I had DNA quite a few times, and when I looked at the final like blind here, I knew that realistically the card I was gonna have to sell was DNA, because again, I can't sell even Steven. That's the one. That's the Joker looking Joker up there. If you can't tell, and like that little symbol affinity in the top left of his card that says eternal. That means eternal. So that means he can't be sold and he can't be destroyed. So I can't sell him. I can't sell Balliot because Balliot is pretty much the only reason that I'm currently alive, right? Well, in my head, at least, it feels, because I'm actually scoring the equivalent of 7 cards each time I play because of Balliot. So that was a significant thing. So I knew the card I had to sell was DNA, which is 1.5 times mult. Because again, I can't sell Trio, and I can't sell that at the Hollow People, because at the end of the round, I need that extra 3 times mult. So I was like, fuck it, DNA's got to be sold. I got through this really well. So I know this was an extremely dry monologue, and there was no jokes, which is what, if any of you are like my older viewers, is pretty much what I am known for. Outrageous intros and awful jokes. But yeah, this is me running through this card game. Leave a comment for the algorithm, please, if you got this far. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.